The last bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 2200. The Chief Clerk will report the bill.
Senate File number 2200, number 4 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to evidence, the second engrossment.
I recognize the member from Ramsey, Representative Feist.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am pleased to bring Senate File 2200 to before the House. I'm so sorry, does folks mind quieting down? Thank you. This bill has been championed by survivors of sexual assault seeking expanded accountability and healing for other survivors. This legislation passed unanimously off the Senate floor, and I'm proud to present it in the House today. Under this legislation, statements made in the context of a restorative practice setting would be inadmissible in court, similar to the privilege that exists already in alternative dispute resolution, or ADR. It's important to the success of a restorative process for there to be a legally safe space for dialogue, just as there is in the ADR context. We know from local and national statistics from the National Crime Victimization Survey and hearing from victim survivors directly, that the majority of crimes, more than half of violent crimes, over 2/3 of property crimes, and nearly 75% of sexual assaults go unreported. We have to listen to victims and provide more options for them to get the meaningful accountability and healing they want and deserve. Organizations representing survivors' interests have joined together to support this bill, including Violence Free Minnesota, the Sexual Violence Center, the Minnesota Alliance on Crime, CADA, and many more. I want to thank the survivors who have shown up to make our system better for future survivors of violence than it was for them. In particular, I want to thank Sarah Super, who is here today on the House floor with us. Sarah is a survivor and an advocate who founded Break the Silent to support survivors of sexual violence and led the successful efforts to eliminate the criminal statute of limitations for felony sex crimes in Minnesota. Thank you, Sarah. I am deeply appreciative of your partnership on this bill and your tireless advocacy for survivors in our state. I also want to thank my Republican colleagues for their input on this bill, which strengthened the language and ensured greater transparency around restorative practices in Minnesota. And lastly, I would like to thank Representative Harder and Representative Schwartz for their co-authorship of this legislation. I am grateful for your collaboration in achieving our shared goal as legislators to ensure that our laws support victims and protect communities. Thank you.
There are no amendments at the desk. The Chief Clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File number 2200.
Third reading. Discussion. I recognize the member from Wright, Representative Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to draw attention to the unique process that's unfortunately unique, and you'll understand in a minute here what I'm referring to, of how this bill came to this moment. So this occurred in a way that I think a lot of folks who we represent across the state of Minnesota either imagine or wish that legislation would make its way through this chamber. And that is to say, it came directly from real people. Not lobbyists, not some association, but somebody who cares about an issue, who was working with other people who care about an issue, none of whom were paid to come down here and tell us this is what we want, this is what we need. And the idea, at least from my perspective and the perspective of a lot of my colleagues, is so novel that it really did require a lot of deep conversation to try to understand not only what it is, but why it is, and why we should trust this idea. And from my personal perspective, I'll tell you, I, to this moment, still don't fully understand it. I don't understand what you get out of it by having this restorative process where you sit down with someone and try to reconcile. It's not my cup of tea. But what I've heard from survivors again and again and again through chatting through this process is that it means something incredibly important to them. And it provides them with an option to be able to seek a kind of closure that otherwise they'd have no path to. Because as was stated, there are far too many crimes that go unreported, And even when you do report a crime, which I've heard from multiple survivors, there's no guarantee that there's going to be a charge. There's no guarantee that there's going to be a conviction. There's no guarantee that you're going to get closure through the criminal justice process. Currently, there's no other alternative. You've just been shut out for being able to find some sort of way to land that plane. From what I'm told and what I'm trusting is that this provides another option to be able to find that type of a closure. There are concerns, there are reservations that will be reflected when we take this vote, I have no doubt, about the potential impact that this could have on diversion from the criminal justice system and people not being held to criminal account who properly should be or morally should be. But what I'm taking faith in is the idea that this is going to do far more good than fulfill those reservations. And if problems do arise in the future, we'll have the means through the language alterations that we worked on to be able to determine where those problems are, and we can come back as a body and fix those. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize a member from Nicollet, Representative Schwartz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I rise today in support of this bill. This bill is a step in the right direction. It strengthens confidentiality for participants in restorative justice practices, victims, offenders, and community members who come together voluntarily in hopes of finding accountability, healing, and closure. Let me be clear. Protective, restorative justice conversations does not mean we are going to go soft on crime. We will still go after the criminals who commit harm. Prosecutors will prosecute, law enforcement will still investigate. But for those cases where victims choose a restorative path, they deserve the safety to speak freely without fear of retribution or public exposure. This bill recognizes that justice can take more than one form. And for some, this form helps them heal faster, stronger, and with more dignity. Members, please vote green. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any further discussion of the bill? I recognize the member from Ramsey, Representative Feist.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, colleagues, for the discussion this evening. This is a good bill. It does not replace existing systems for accountability. Rather, it honors the requests of victims who have come to the Capitol to advocate for expanded menu of options to meet their differing needs. Sexual trauma can last a lifetime, impacting entire families and futures. This bill will meaningfully contribute to the healing of victims and families. And lastly, I just want to thank my colleagues again. The process that we went through, which was a lot of dialogue and a lot of collaboration, it just meant a lot to me. And I feel like it truly improved the bill before you today. So please vote green. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll. Members, please vote. The clerk will call the names of the members voting remotely.
Finke.
Finke, yes.
Finke votes aye. Hussein.
Okay, go ahead.
Hussein, aye.
Hussein votes aye. Senator Murrah.
Senator Murrah votes aye.
Senator Murrah votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 98 yeas and 36 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to.